Good morning, guys. Happy Friday. This is Aggie with Artist Heart Studio. Welcome if it's your first time here. I'm really glad to see you. I hope to share some painting techniques with you today on a glowing pumpkin. So this is a sample of one that I have done. Good morning, Marcia. And this is what I'm going to show you today. Good morning, Catherine. How are you? Happy Friday. It's funny, I was just looking out. It's still kind of that dusk light, you know, it's not totally lit up yet, the sun. And I see that morning light color, the color of the year called first light. I actually see that in the sky today. It's really funny. But anyway, I thought I'd ask you guys, in what I want to share today, do you want me to do the entire painting, or is it enough to just show you how to do this pumpkin? That's what I'm wondering. Let me know below what you think. I've done this class many times, very, very popular class. And one of the alternate ideas is to put, let me move this text out of the way, is to put, you could put a, Halloween looking fence, and you could put headstones in the ground. I probably have another version showing that. I could look real quick. But let me know below if you'd like to see the entire painting, or is that really necessary? Would you like to just see specifically how I do the glowing pumpkin? And can you guys even hear me? Say hello. Let me know. You know what I think I'll do while I'm waiting for your comment? I'm going to go look really quick. Keep that there so you could look at it. I'm going to go look really quick for the alternate version of that in my samples. Be right back. Well, I didn't have any luck finding it. Hi, Christine. Good morning. Can you guys hear me okay? Because nobody answered my question. I was asking if I should paint the whole painting, or is it okay if I just show you the glowing pumpkin? What do you think, you guys? Hopefully I'll get some answers from y'all. Hello, good morning, happy Friday. Happy Friday. I also found this. I think I'm going to show this maybe tomorrow. Painting a bear. Wouldn't that be fun? We'll do a bear painting. Put that here. All right, you guys, still no answers from y'all. You guys are quiet this morning. Good morning, Lisa. I was asking, would you want me to show you this entire painting or just the pumpkin? What do you guys think? I taught this class many times. Very, very popular class. Honestly, probably a couple hundred people I taught this class to, maybe more. Probably more, actually. So I was going to do that on paper. I have an additional light on this morning that's right over me. Is it too much light? Am I too blown out? I need to wash my hair. Okay, got some more people here. Oh, good morning, Tammy. Whatever your heart desires, Christine says. Love the tree with the pumpkin. Catherine says pumpkin. All right. Tree with the pumpkin, pumpkin. Well, the whole thing. Lisa says the whole thing. All right, we'll do the whole thing. I'm going to do it on paper though. So I'm going to turn my camera down. Let me do that really quick. Oops, I always hit the wrong thing with my big fingers. So I may not be able to do this all in one video today. I might break it up into a couple of segments, you know, because I don't know. It might take too long. We'll see. All right, so here's my pad. I'm just gonna do this on my mixed media paper. What is this called again? Yeah, it's Canson Excel mixed media paper. I'm just gonna do it on here. I've got my box of paints. You guys know about that, right? Love my box of paints. If you don't know how I did this, you can find out all about it at my my website. By the way, this is a great place to sign up to know all the good juicy stuff that I have going on, my classes. There's at least 4 free classes here for you. And anytime I have a new offering, these people find out first, the people that are subscribed to my teaching website called Artist Heart Studio. Anyway, if you go to Apple Study, you'll find out how I did the paint box. And it has been life-changing, and several of you have already done the paint box, right? All right, so if I miss your comment, lighting is fine. Thanks, Tammy, for letting me know. If I miss your comment, please know that I'll come back on later and I will look for it. Is this whole thing in here? Can you see the bottom? Yeah, I guess you can. I don't know. I feel like I should pull this up a little bit, though, which I don't have the strength to do unless it's on the floor. See, this is, pardon me for a second, this is what I have to do to lift it up. Sorry. But I don't have good hand strength, and the mount is on a pole, and it's very hard to unscrew it. So that's my my quick way of fixing it. There, I think that's better. Now you'll have a better view of everything, right? All right, so, oh, I freeze sometimes? Oh, huh. That sounds like internet issues, right? I don't know, maybe sometimes you have to quit and come back on again, Marcia. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to continue on. We're doing this. Now, I don't have room to keep this in the frame, so every once in a while I will, I'll bring this back over here to show you, but I'm going to have it standing over here off to the side. And when I taught this class in person, I basically had a stencil that I'd give everybody. And I don't know if you guys teach paint party classes, but you probably know about stencils. I bought this stuff at Hobby Lobby. They come in a little package, and first I just drew my design onto a piece of paper, watercolor paper, and then I traced it with marker onto the stencil material and cut it out. And this is a really nice durable stencil for people to use. And they would use this for tracing with their pencil. And then I also just used paper stencils, you know, because this gets to be a little bit pricey buying these. This was before I had a Cricut machine. Of course, now you could have your Cricut machine cut these out, which I have done for other classes. So I'm not going to use this today. It would actually be too big for this, but it's pretty close to the size of a paper plate. If you were doing this is a 12 by 16 canvas, but this works out perfect using a paper plate for your circle for a 16 by 20 canvas. Works just right. That's why this is this big. So anyway, just thought I'd mention that. You guys probably would have figured that out. You can use a paper plate for a pumpkin or a snowman face or even an owl face. You know, anytime you need a circle, just use a paper plate if that works for you, you know, or some round thing. All right, so first we're going to paint our background in, and I'm just going to use a big brush. I'm going to do the background real simple. My 3/4 inch flat brush. Always dip it in water first. And I'm going to probably just go directly from my paint box onto my paper. I'm going to roll up my sleeves so I don't get paint on myself. You know what? I should put my apron on too. This is my favorite sweater because it's long and it covers my winter fat. Hold on, I'll be right back. All right, that's better. I got my apron on. I'm on my decaf coffee. All right, so we're just gonna do horizontal streaks of, oh, I do need more white in there, and my white clogged, which really bummed me out. So I have to do it the hard way. Well, I guess this isn't really that hard. But I use my cheap white in my paint box because I use so much white. So I don't bother with the expensive white unless I'm doing, you know, a more fine art painting. Okay. So since I'm mixing on here, I'm going to get a little bit of white on here first. And then I'm going to get my phthalo blue is going to be really strong. Yep. Very, very strong. But that's okay. And, you know, you're just going to do these horizontal streaks all the way down. Now I'm going to use some ultramarine blue. So I had phthalo blue. Now I'm adding in ultramarine blue. That's the one that gives us a more violet lavender looking color, which I love, 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 love. I don't know, I like both blues. You know, I really like both. So you want to try and be as you want variety as you're doing this. So sometimes I'll turn my brush the skinny way. This is the Big Daddy brush, I call him. And he can be fat or he can be skinny, depending on how you turn the brush. I like to say that in my paint parties to people. They laugh at me. So now I'm incorporating in some quinacridone magenta. And you know, this is the easy peasy fun part. You want to kind of get all this on there quickly before it starts to dry. I've had people get a little bit obsessive about this, and there's no need to. You know, just go streaking. All we're doing is going streaking. That's it. And the thing is, this is going to need to dry. Okay, probably good enough. I'm going to hit this with the dryer really quick, you guys. I'm sorry that my furnace is kicking on. I didn't have this going off the edge. Crapola. So now I'm turning the brush the skinny way, and this is a trick that I do to get it to dry faster. Sometimes I'll just keep doing these strokes on my wet acrylic paint. It actually helps it dry a little faster. wiping off my brush and hit it with the dryer. Let's close the box while we're doing this. Good morning, Sheila and Jenny. We are painting this today. All right, very good. So now, next step. We're going to use our chalk and sketch in our pumpkin real quick. So, you know, and you know, we're going to try and figure out where our land is. So our land is going to be down here. Can you guys see this? I think you can. Can you see the bottom of this? Oh, maybe not. Oh yeah, okay, you can. And the tree, you could put the tree on either side, whichever side you want it to be. But the first thing I'm going to do is get my pumpkin in here. And it's going to be about this size. The top of the pumpkin is almost at the halfway point, really, of the painting. And you got to leave enough room for your tree over here. So I'm going to stick my hand here. And he's going to have this big old stalk right here. Be about like that, maybe. And then the sweet spot for the moon is right about here, let's say. Okay, so something like that. And then my tree is just going to come up like this. That's the edge of it. We're going to have the whole idea. First, you're going to put your pumpkin. Make sure you've left at least 1/4 of the space for the tree. Then you're going to place the moon, right? And then when you draw these branches on, you're going to be strategic about where you put these branches, because we want some of our branches to come down in front of the moon. And I think what really gives this the flavor of a nice Halloween-ish painting is the fact that we've got these twisty little branches coming down in front of the moon and all around the background. That's what really makes gives that feeling of Halloween to the painting. So we're going to be strategic about having a branch come up here above our moon so that we can then have some of these branches come down in front of it. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. And when I'm doing rough in like this, I'm basically just drawing the letter Y over and over again. See the Y, Y, Y. Then I'm going to have a branch that kind of comes down, well, actually it kind of just goes across. Maybe it's going to tuck behind and come back up over here. Something like that. And it's going to be a real thick, twisted oak kind of tree, because those have the most character, right? And that's it. Okay, that's enough of a rough-in. For the pumpkin itself, we're basically going to we're going to have to like mask this out, believe it or not. But I'm going to do a rough of where I'm going to paint the white in. So I'm going to draw a banana for a mouth. Okay, it's like a banana shape. You can wipe your chalk away with a damp brush. You can edit your chalk lines. People love this. It's magical if you didn't know this. And so first we start with this really big, wide banana grin, right? Really wide, almost going out to the edges here. And the eyes are going to follow the same curve. The bottoms of the eyes follow the same curve as the top of this banana. And then you simply just do triangles like that. So this arc is pointing to the tip of the mouth. This arc is pointing to the tip of the mouth. Okay. So we got a banana and 2 triangles. Maybe I'm going to make this a little bit bigger over here. And then we're going to put some teeth in. So I'm going to show you this once again. There's 2 teeth on the bottom and 3 teeth on the top. I'm going to start with the center tooth, right in the center of my banana. And it's a big old tooth coming down almost halfway. That's a little too big. Let's go a little smaller. Oops, now that it's wet, I won't be able to really do it as well. And then I'm gonna have another one here and another one here, right? Then I'm gonna put the bottom ones in between. And you know, you could do your teeth different, but that's how I did mine. And if I really want to edit these lines, I could come back in and erase this like that. But that's essentially how you draw that. It's a pretty, you know, I think it's kind of easier that way if you break it down like that. Okay, so now we've got that in there. We want to paint, believe it or not, we want to paint white inside the mouth and the eyes. We're going to paint white. And we need that. I'm going to have to take a day and binge watch all your videos. Yes, Sheila, do it. Hi, Melissa. And Sheila, oops. Okay, sip of my coffee. I'm gonna get my white and I'm gonna fill in. I'm gonna do that first because it's gonna take a while to dry. I'm also gonna paint white in my moon because we have to let that white dry. So now the reason for that is, this is like whiteout. Anytime we're painting a yellow area, yellow will not cover anything. It's the most transparent color. So you have to paint white first if you really want yellow to pop. It's just the nature of yellow paint. There's no way around it. Well, the only other way around it is to not paint the background. But I tried that with people. It's too hard. They are too cautious about, you can't paint these beautiful streaks if you have to stop and paint around paint around this circle. It just doesn't work. You have to paint the streaks all the way through the background first to make it look like a really nice fall streaky sky. You just have to do it that way. Especially if you're teaching this class. So a lot of the things I do, I had to figure out how I'm going to teach the class. And it's in doing so, I came up with all these paintings that, you know, are pretty quick and easy to do. All right, that's reasonably good. Now, I will say, if you're going to teach this class, people are very cautious about this part. It takes them a very long time to do this. If you can come up with a stencil where they could just sponge this in, your class will go a lot faster. I did not feel like, you know, investing in all those stencils. I had people hand paint it. Because when I did classes, I had, you know, 40, 50 people at a class. Working on all those stencils was too much, you know? Too much for me. I just let them use the stencil to trace from. I didn't make vinyl stencils for them to use as, for painting. I don't know if that makes sense. Sometimes I did. It would depend on the event. So I'm going to need a second coat of this, as you can see, which is why I'm starting that. That's the first thing I'm doing is painting in the white, because it's gonna it's gonna take a while for that to dry. All right, so meanwhile, we can work on the tree. And again, if you're teaching this class, people freak out about little branches, but they're really They're really not that hard if you do a couple of key things, which I'm going to tell you about. All right, so let me show you this again. The very first step we're going to do is paint the entire tree in black. And also this hill and also the pumpkin, believe it or not. We're going to paint the entire dark part of the pumpkin. It's all black. I know, crazy, right? It's blackety black. Don't talk back. All right, so my big 3/4 inch brush is a little too big for this size that I'm working on. So I'm going to use a 1/2 inch flat mama brush. And, you know, I always start with a dampened brush. And I'm going to start down here. This whole thing is black down here. All of this is black. And you can go right into the pumpkin, don't worry about it. And then we're going to curve up here, and the black just goes into the tree. Okay, so this tree is going to come up. I'm going to try and make it like twisted and thick looking. Don't just paint a straight old tree. We want it to be really twisty, you know, and have a lot of character. Spooky. Make this tree branch come out like this. I'm going to paint through my pumpkin. It's okay. Don't worry about it. We're going to paint that all black anyway. Okay, then this is going to come this way. So when you get over here, you want to try not to make these branches too thick. So I should probably switch to a smaller brush because I'm getting a little thick up in here. Something like that, right? And then I'm going to go back in and make my trunk a little bit fatter. Okay, so that's pretty good. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush now. And so here's what I wanted to tell you. How we doing so far, guys? You still with me? So I'm going to do some smaller branches now, and I'm going to switch my brush. I'm going to use a, now this isn't real small. If I show you next to a pencil, I'm going to use this. Well, you know what? Maybe I won't use this one. I think I'm going to use a liner brush, if I can find one laying here. Hold on. Nope. I think I must have washed it last night. It's over by my sink. Grab another one. All right, so this is a pretty good one. I didn't want to grab a brand new one, but so it's a longer, this may not actually be a liner, but you know, if you want to do lines, the key is to use a brush that is intended for lines. They have longer bristles on the end. And so that's what I'm going to use here. And then I'm going to get my plate out. So the other important factor is how you load the brush and how thin your paint is. Some artists use a different, more fluid type of paint just for their lines. You know, you could buy the same version of your paint probably in a fluid type of product. Or you could just add a little bit of water to it like I'm doing here. So here's how you do. You know, you add water, and, you know, I've taught thousands of people, and even though I say add water, I would go around and see that they never added enough water. So then I started telling them it needs to be thinner than yogurt. I mean, it needs to be kind of almost like milk, you know, because you want to get a line. If it's not nice and runny, it should flow off your brush really easily. That's the whole point. So, okay, now we're going to do just some thinner lines like this. You know, and at first it's a little bit scary putting these in here, but, you know, try not to be too nervous about it. Just start putting these little branches in like this. It's really actually really fun. I'm not going to bring the ones down in front of there yet, but can do this. You know, maybe this is even going to have a branch that kind of goes like this, and it'll go around, and then this one's going to go off the edge. But I kind of want to direct the eye back into the painting. So I'm going to definitely put a strong line doing that. So it kind of brings the eye back in. All right, so that's the idea there. Some of these are going to have these, like, I don't know what they are, vines coming up into the pumpkin. Just, you know, more added creepiness. All right, so now I'm ready to paint inside my pumpkin. I'm going to go ahead and make the entire pumpkin black. This is the stem. And I have to be careful that I don't hit my white. So anybody have any fun plans for the weekend? What's going on? Have you guys been to any of those fall? I love those fall, you know, the farmers markets and those, what are they called again, where you take the kiddies? You guys going to any of those this weekend? Hello, hello. Oops, I just got black paint on my phone. Good morning, Terry. Hi, Sissy. How are you? So let's do the teeth. When you paint this line, you want to connect it. Same thing here. You need to have nice juicy paint to be able to get these nice clean lines. If your brush is dragging as you're doing this, it means you either don't have a, oops, I went a little crazy there. It means you either don't have enough paint on your brush or your paint is just a little too dry. So it should flow really easily right off your brush. Okay, now we're going to paint this top of the banana. Maybe I should call it a crescent. The top of the crescent. So you see the crescent shape? And then we're just going to paint our teeth in. So I like to turn it upside down. It's just easier for my hands, my body comfort. And I'm just going to do the teeth. Again, I've got to do another coat of white anyway. So if I have to clean up these lines a little bit, that's fine. The teeth are ever so slightly triangular, by the way. I don't know if you catch what I'm saying. I'll show you in a second. This one needs to be a little taller. So if you look at the teeth, they're not straight lines, they're just slightly wider at the you know, where it connects to the outline. They're not squares, they're slightly wider at the bottom. All right, so now we have to let this dry really. It's very, very wet. Well, we could put our headstones in the distance. I'm gonna put a headstone here. And I'm gonna put a fence. So it's just a really rickety old fence. And isn't that cute? And then I'm gonna hit this with the dryer now. I could probably paint a lot more, but let's do that. I could paint a lot more black lines on here. This isn't the greatest brush either. So maybe I do need to get myself a thinner brush. So I got a really thin one here now. Again, I want to make sure my paint is not thick. I want it to be really like ink almost. And so over here is where we're basically pointing into, everything is pointing to the pumpkin. All these cute little lines and vines and stuff are pointing into the pumpkin. Oops, too much water. This one's eventually going to go up into the into the moon. So is this. right, so you get the idea, right? You do plenty of little lines too. And I'm gonna hit this with the dryer now, and I really wanna get another coat of white on there. You know what? I don't think I have to do a second coat of white. I'm not going to. So how are we doing so far? She's gonna work on, oh, the pumpkin patch. Thanks, Sissy. It's a pumpkin patch, yes. I'm such, I don't know. Certain words are leaving my mind. Oh my God. Let's see, maybe we can get away with not having to put a second coat. Let's just see if we can do that. So the next step, I mean, I could get rid of these chalk lines that are bothering me. And you know, you want to be a little bit careful of that, because if you press too hard, you're gonna, you know, lift up this paint that isn't really totally cured yet. But yeah, it's working. I'm just doing this with a wet brush to get rid of some of those distracting chalk lines. Okay, good, much better. So now we're gonna paint, you know, the tree. Actually, no, that tree will come next. So here, let me show you what it looks like again. The next step is to put the yellow in, because you might need 2 coats of yellow, and if you have to anticipate something drying, you want to do that part first. So let me get my Mama flat brush. And so the first coat that we're going to put on here is like this Cad Yellow Medium. And you know, it's not perfect, but that's okay. I mean, this is a moon after all. So this is just Cad Yellow Medium, and depending on how opaque yours is, you could be messy and let it go beyond your outlines there. It's just a lot easier. So I went beyond my black because it's just a heck of a lot easier, right? And we have to let that dry. I could bring this yellow out just a little bit more into my blue, but I want a pretty dry brush. And because a dry brush is going to give me that soft glow look that I want. Now it's kind of greenish, but I don't think I mind that a whole lot, to tell you the truth. All right, so while we're letting that dry, let's skip back to the tree, and we're going to use maybe some burnt sienna. We could probably get away with straight up burnt sienna, and I want to make my tree look really twisted, so I'm going to do an arc like this, another arc like this. You know, really arc that. And I'm going to kind of imagine that the light from the moon is hitting the right edges of all these branches, if that makes sense. Up here, you know, wherever the light would be hitting, on this branch, the light would be hitting on the top of it. This brush is a little big for this, but that's okay. On this branch, the light would be hitting along the bottom of it. You know, so just use your common sense where the moonlight would be hitting the branch. And, you know, you could even put blue in this if you wanted to, and purple, or, you know, you could have a lot of fun with these colors in here. Just doing whatever, swirls. I can always add black back in if I want to. Okay. All right, so then I'm gonna add, let's see. I'm gonna hit this with the dryer. What I wanna do, I wanna finish the yellow parts first so that then I can paint the pumpkin. But I wanna get this transition going on in here. So that means on my next step, like this is my medium shade of yellow. On my next step, I'm gonna add orange and the cad yellow light. All right, so, and I'm not gonna really finesse this. You'll get the idea. So I'm gonna use a medium round. I'm gonna get my orange now, and I'm gonna put that on maybe this side. And I'm just gonna try and get, I don't know, a little bit of variation going on in here. All right, so there's my orange, wipe my brush out. And then let's blend the yellow into it. Maybe it's more orangey in the middle. But you see how it really helps to just not worry about those lines. I'm still going to be able to see my lines. If I'm being cautious, I can't get a good blend in there. Just don't worry about repainting those lines again. So now I'm going to add in a lighter yellow. I just want kind of a mottled effect on my moon. Sometimes your finger is the best tool for that. Okay, so now I am ready to paint my black back in. Right, and I can also bring those branches in front of the moon now. All right, so I'm gonna get my black on this brush and just come back in, and this is where it just really starts to look phenomenal. Now that you got that inside painted in there. So this is the main thing I wanted to show you guys is, you know, this is how you would do something that's glowing inside. You know, you got to have this high contrast. You know, when you're dealing with yellow, you have to do the yellow first, you know. Mask it out like we did and all that good stuff. So again, I'm going to paint the banana, the crescent shape first. Oops. And then I got to get the teeth back in there. Hi, Helen. Hi, Trish. Good morning. Happy Friday. Here's this one. All right, now we have to let that dry, but we could do, we're gonna bring a few branches with our really tiny brush, bring a few branches in front of our moon. So I really want this to direct our eye, you know, back into the painting. Okay, and it just looks a lot better when you have a few of those. You know, going right over the moon like that. All right, so then I think we need to hit this with the dryer again. So then we're gonna paint, believe it or not, there's a little bit of, now you could leave it like this. It's perfectly fine. But you know me, I like to take it a little bit further. So believe it or not, there is, actually I don't remember what exact color I used on this. I'm gonna have to play around. It might have been alizarin crimson. No, that would make it wine colored. Some warm color, I'll have to figure it out. I'll do it with you in a second. There's blue, phthalo blue on top of black. And then over here, I put some kind of dark orange. I don't remember what it was. We'll figure it out in a second. On top of the pumpkin, on top of the black. let's see if we could figure out what it was. I am not remembering what color it was. All right, well, let's get our blue in here first. Our phthalo blue. And don't be afraid, blue on top of black is gorgeous. So, you know, think the cold side of it. I mean, this guy is in silhouette after all. Oh, I don't want white mixed in. You know, this guy is in silhouette, and, you know, we want to have that hint of blue because it really, you know, being a complementary color to yellow, it just really makes the whole thing pop a little bit more. Just takes it, you know, to another level. But I think really you're only going to want, depends on your brand of paint. I think you're only going to want one layer of blue. Mine might have a little bit of white mixed into it. It's showing a little bit more than it should. I can always add a little black to it, right? Or let's try our ultramarine blue on here. Maybe it was ultramarine blue. I don't know. You know, and the nice thing about using that burnt sienna is if you get ultramarine blue on top of it, it's perfectly fine. It looks like a dark green. You could even use purple. Here is some deoxazine purple I'm putting in here. That looks really good too, the deoxazine purple. I don't know if you can kind of see those colors. It's so shiny, it's hard to see, but I can take a photo of this. All right, so let's go up to the top. Let's figure out what orange. So it's like orange in shadow. Maybe it's, let's try burnt sienna. I'm curious to use quinacridone with my burnt sienna and see what, oh gosh, it looks pretty bright. But maybe it's not bad. And you know, you can experiment with different things, you guys. Oops, got it inside there. Looks a little cool still, but maybe that's good. I'm gonna put a hint of orange on top of that. I guess what it is you don't want your orange to be too opaque. So I'm gonna mix burnt sienna with it. I'm afraid this is gonna be too light. Yeah, so this is gonna have to be like a highlight on here. Yeah, that'll be my highlight color. So there's just a bit of a, you know, light highlight around the edges here. And then, you know, of course, you always want to, you could even put a little bit of this on the headstone. You always want to, you know, spread the love around. If you've got it in one place, put it in a couple other places, right? Okay, so there's that. Let's blend this a little bit. Yeah, burnt sienna, orange, little magenta, it's all good, it all works. All right, I mean, it's fun to get those colors in there. And then the last step is adding a little bit of snow. Just a tiny bit of snow, right? So we're gonna use our little tiny brush again. So yeah, I guess the only bad part if you're teaching this painting is you have to have a bunch of brushes. And I'm gonna use a really tiny little brush like this. You could just use the hard end of the brush, but you do need to put a little outline like this. you know, here and there on the pumpkin. It really helps it kind of come forward a little bit. All right, and then we're just going to add, maybe the snow is starting to catch just a little bit on a couple of these branches. All right, and then here's our snow. Now remember, snow dots, I didn't do it on my sample painting, but snow would fall in front of the moon also. I think the snow adds a nice touch. You don't have to do snow if you don't want to. Oops, that was a big glob. Oh gosh, big globs. So you want to be a little bit careful with your snow dots. I'm using the bristle end of my brush. You could certainly use the hard end of your brush. So what do you think, guys? You like this one? Isn't this a fun one? There's a little bit of work to it, you know. You have to mask out the background and all that stuff, but this was really a very popular painting for me. Very popular painting. And I think that's it. Hi, Cheryl. So let me know if you're going to try this. And if you do try it, I hope you'll share your painting here. I hope you show us how yours turns out. Kids love this painting. And yeah, so that's what we did. What do you think? Well, let me hit it with a dryer. All right, so there it is. Yeah, the glowing pumpkin. Here was my original. And this is a 12 by 16 canvas. And here's the one I did today on paper. So yeah, that is it, you guys. Love it, and I learned so much from you. Oh good, I'm glad. I got paint on my screen, on my phone screen. That's okay, it'll wipe right off. All right, you guys, well good. I'm glad I got through that whole thing. So I hope you do this painting. If you do it, post it here, post it on Instagram. Let's use hashtag ArtistHeartStudio on Instagram. I'd love for you to share it there. Share it here, share it on your page. And that's it, you guys. I'm gonna let you go so you can watch it from the beginning. Have a great weekend. I'll be back on tomorrow, probably around the same time. Thanks, bye. Oh, I gotta, how do I finish? I have to turn that down. Okay, there we go. Bye, guys.